Today, we're very honored to welcome the Honorable Xavier Suarez, Mayor of Miami. Mayor Suarez was elected mayor of the city of Miami in 1985 and was re-elected to second and third terms in 1987 and 1989. He attended Villanova University on a presidential scholarship and graduated summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. Upon graduation from Villanova, Mayor Suarez was admitted to Harvard Law School and subsequently to the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, where he obtained the joint degrees of Juris Doctor and Masters in Public Policy in 1975. In recognition of his achievements as mayor are the readers' polls of South Florida Magazine, who have selected Mayor Suarez as the area's best public official, and the New Times, which has named the mayor as the best local politician in 1990 and 1991. Welcome once again, and please join me in welcoming Mayor Xavier Suarez.
Did I make you emotional, man?
Yeah, it does.
I'm glad.
I mean, on so many levels. First of all, you know, if you see him, like, he looks incredible, right? He was probably younger than I am today, because he was, I think, the second youngest mayor in the history. He was elected mayor at 36 years old. I wasn't elected mayor until I was 40. I always joke with him. I said, Dad, when I was 40, I looked 36, and when you're 36, you look 40. But it's a little joke that we have. But he had such presence. I mean, if you see him, it's an incredible awareness that he had, an incredible presence. I wish you could keep playing it, because I'm sure his speech was phenomenal. I remember seeing old clips of him and hearing him speak. He has a totally different inflection in his voice now, many, many, many years later, 30 years later, 40 years later. But it was interesting. I've seen old clips of him, and I get inspiration from it. Mm-hmm. And I compare myself to it in a way, right? And I think, and find myself oftentimes lacking. You know, he's someone who really, really could, had great presence, tall guy, great head of hair too. And he he was very articulate. I mean, 2 graduate degrees from Harvard, as you said. So it's, that was a magical time for Miami. He was elected the first Cuban mayor in 1985. As was said, he was reelected twice, which is interesting because he served 8 years, but was reelected twice in 87 and 89, because initially there were 2-year terms, and then it was changed to a 4-year term. And, he was mayor in a very pivotal moment for the city. It was coming out of a very, very dangerous time in the early 80s. In 1980, we had the most homicides in history, 220.
It was right before Marilito, and 1981 was,
Yeah, it was the cocaine cowboy era.
Yeah.
And just last year, just to give you perspective of how much Miami has evolved, we had 27. So we went from 220 to 27, a 90% reduction. And the lowest we've ever had on record was 24. So this year that we're in now, we have the potential of getting under our lowest year, which would be incredible if we think, we started recording homicides in 1946. So if from 1946 to 2025, if in 2025 we have the lowest homicides ever in history, that would be an incredible achievement given our population and our size as a city.
Do you know your dad? I don't know if you ever think, I don't know, I'm a student of history.
I try not to think.
No, I know. But think, I don't know, when it's your father, it's, sometimes, we don't go back and look at everything, but I'm a student of history. And when I do everything, I love history, man. I think it's important to honor this community. That's why I'm doing this. And so I spend a lot of time looking at all this stuff. And I also think that it bothers me when people's reputations are unfairly, so that's okay, but I'm going to change.
No, I'm glad you are, because and I think what you're doing is you're opening a door. And you're opening a window into people's souls and into who they really are. And I hope that a lot of people watch this, because I really think that it will give them a good perspective on who we are, why we're motivated to do what we do,
how this community has this built. And
and what is our worldview? Why do we decide certain things certain ways? And I think for him, it is important to recognize the history of the time that he was mayor, and all the other mayors, the mayors that came before him. He defeated a 12-year incumbent, Maurice Ferre, who was the first Hispanic mayor of Miami.
So I'm laughing. I'm crazy. You know that a little bit, Fred Menachem. But no, not in a good way, I think sometimes. But I've been reading everything. I'm going back, man, down memory lane. So I found, God, you're going to love this. Wait, hold on. This is a podcast. It's not like polished TV, so I can do this.
Look, while you're looking for it, I'll tell you that one of the greatest things that I got to do as mayor is when Mayor Ferre died. First, when he was alive, we got to name one of our central parks after him, Maurice Ferre Park, which was Bayfront Park before that. And then secondly, we got to do an incredible funeral for him where I don't know if it's ever happened before, but where his body laid in state in City Hall. I was able to give a speech about him and his life, and his family was very, very grateful. We literally, we blocked all of 95. We had an incredible, motorcade to escort his body to the church, which was St. Patrick's Cathedral. And, it was just a special moment in the history of Miami where we recognized a guy who oftentimes is considered to be the father of modern Miami. I think my dad ushered in an era of prosperity, of safety. And also he brought 3 sports franchises to Miami. The Miami Heat came when he was here, the Florida Marlins came when he was here, and the Florida Panthers came all when he was the mayor. So he projected confidence in our country such that these investments could be made that are today. I mean, we just had the Florida Panthers win a second consecutive Stanley Cup. We've had the Miami Heat win 3 championships. We've had the Florida Marlins win 2 championships. So that would not have happened in part if it wasn't for Xavier Suarez.
Well, I'm interrupting you for a moment because
Shocking.
Shocker. So anyway, it's ADD,
It's all good.
So anyway, but it's
I
love,
expected
man.
it, Fred.
But I can't help it. The thing is, I lose my thought. So somebody's talking. I always tell.
That's why I was
somebody
talking while
anyway.
you were-
And the problem is, I
while
have to store. I know I saw
while you
that.
were
'Cause I lose
regaining
my
your
thought,
thought.
and I think I'm going to forget. But anyhow,
This is good. It gives me more opportunity.
But this is like, I don't know. I know you think about this stuff, but I think about it from another perspective, right? Looking outside. Your dad and you're very different, but also
Super different.
there's a lot. But Xavier, what is this from? Wait, hold on. This is from New York Times or LA Times. Xavier Suarez gained national attention when he was elected as Miami's first Cuban-born mayor. Around here, he quickly gained a reputation as the pothole mayor, competent but dull in the land of Miami Vice. But moving forward, he was considered by many to be an unimaginative technocrat, seemingly uncomfortable in public and lacking the urbane, high-profile style of his predecessor. Yet, Suarez steered away from the foreign policy issues, all Miami, right, that often dominate the local news, saying his job was not to overthrow Fidel Castro, but to get the garbage picked up. But that was 4 years ago. No one calls Xavier Suarez, Javier Suarez, boring anymore. This is where Francis comes in. Tell me this doesn't remind me of you. From a $5,000 a year job that carries no actual executive powers, because Miami is a city manager system, Suarez has built a political empire. His influence has spread from Dade County to the state capital in Washington, as well as to Latin America. Cisneros' departure with the departure of San Antonio Mayor Henry Cisneros, Suarez is one of the highest profile Latino politicians in the United States. And anyway, there's more here. But the point is that is very similar part of the story. Have you thought about that?
I drew a lot of inspiration from him. He's a big thinker, my dad.
Yeah, I know. Right. By the way, he's a non-linear. You know why I relate to your dad? I know. Have you ever thought? I'm a very non-linear thinker, right?
He's a non-linear
He starts with
thinker,
pothole
for
and he
sure.
goes to civil rights, but me too. But there's a point to it.
Yeah, he's definitely a nonlinear thinker. He's a big thinker. He does not let big ideas and bold ideas scare him or create an obstacle for him. And I definitely got that from him. I think I often like to say I got enough of my dad's IQ. I think my dad's an IQ genius, and I think my mom's an EQ genius. So I always say that I got enough of my mom's EQ and enough of my dad's IQ to be dangerous, And I think, interesting in terms of style, like you said, we're very different stylistically.
For sure.
My dad is definitely more of a policy wonk. I love policy, but I also love people, and I think I'm more of a people person. And so that sort of defines my style. I think in many ways, I'm probably more comparable to Maurice, which was his predecessor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of
you did certain similar things to Manny in some ways.
And
but
Manny too. Listen, Manny-
U.S. Conference of Mayors, we were both
we were both president of the Conference of Mayor. Manny was someone who was also a big thinker and did some big projects. So I was inspired by my father, by Manny, by Maurice. Those were people who created inspiration for me, without a doubt. And they set the bar. I mean, they were classy people. They were articulate people. They were visionaries. And I think that's what Miami expects from their mayor. They expect someone to push the envelope, to have a vision, to set a course. You're the captain of the ship, if you will. Like you said, the power isn't always in the executive action that you can take. Oftentimes, it's in your convening power, your ability to do things that go beyond your charge as mayor, and really ecosystem build. Like for me, the charter calls me the chief executive officer, but I think of myself as the chief ecosystem officer. I feel like I'm responsible for every soul, even though I believe that government is not the arbiter of success or failure. But I do believe that if you are bold and if you are innovative, then you can create you can create outcomes that benefit each and every person in your city, even though, government is not responsible in the direct way for their, future. They're responsible for their own future. And we either get out of the way or we're trying to find a pathway for their success and prosperity.